Following last season, Tom Izzo said he's getting back to a deeper run in the NCAA tournament or he's going to die trying. Can we please keep this national treasure alive and kicking?
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast. It's the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We want to thank you for making us your first listener watch and give you a reminder that you can catch every episode ad-free on Amazon Music. I want to give a special shout out to the everydayers joining us, and of course, all the members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord community. So glad you're all here. Welcome in. Let's get to it. This episode is brought to you today by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Oh, baby, the team previews are continuing today. We're talking Sparty. Our guy, Matt Sheehan, is here with us.
That's right.
The great host of Locked On Spartans.
Oh, thanks.
And, wow. Man.
Wow. I had to pay him to say that, guys. That's just for the heads up. Full transparency. That's a $20 Venmo payment coming to Mr. Isaac over there. Thank you, man.
Shady Acres just got a little bit nicer today. So we're going to talk, what are the tweaks that Coach Izzo is wanting to make? He said that as well in his closing comments last year. Tom Izzo uses the transfer portal in his own way. Is Jeremy Fears fully healthy? Can Xavier Booker be who we expected him to be last year? Plus, we'll make starting five projections and our season projections for how this is going to go. And a quick caveat for you all. We are recording this episode prior to the Northern Michigan exhibition game, despite the fact that this episode is releasing after that. So if somebody should get, I'm knocking on all the wood that's around me, Matt. If someone should get unfortunately hurt or bungled or maimed or say a bear runs on the court and just
possible,
I don't know, it just messes up Jaden Akins' leg or something. We don't know about it yet. So
luckily, a Locked On Spartans, that never happens. We never, ever in the history of our show have jinxed a single thing on our show. So we're fine. Everything's good. The team's going to be very healthy leaving Marquette, Michigan in a little bit here.
It's going to be perfect, man. Nothing to worry about. Okay, last season, Sparty went 20-15 overall, 10-10 in Big Ten play, tied for 6 along with the Hoosiers and the Hawkeyes. That feels still so odd to me. In the Big Ten tournament, beat Minnesota 77-67 and then lost to Purdue in the Big Ten quarterfinals. In the NCAA tournament, beat Mississippi State soundly. Boy, did Michigan State look good in that game, 69-51. And then unfortunately fell to the hands of North Carolina in the second round after getting off to a hot start in that game. So we need some revenge for Michigan State. So Matt, here's where we start. Off of that team, 4 starters are gone. Malik Hall, AJ Hoggard off to Vanderbilt, Matty Sissoko off to Cal, Tyson Walker gone. The only returning season-long starter is Jaden Akins. But here's the thing, Matt, for me. 3 of the top scorers are gone, sure. But other than that, 7 of the 11 top players are returning. What does that – I know the tip-top is gone. I understand that. But outside of that, what does this consistency bring for Tom Izzo?
Yeah, and what's interesting, too, is that one of those top guys, Jaden Akins, like, he's going to be playing a new position. Like, he's been pigeonholed at that 3 position over there on the wing. Not necessarily his natural position and or the position that he wants to play. He's been waiting for Tyson Walker to leave so he can slide into that, too. So even with the guy that's returning, it's still going to be a new experience for him. Can he handle that to role? Stay tuned to find out. But, yeah, like, new point guard. All right, the starting guy, he's going to be a sophomore, true sophomore. Freshman by eligibility, but coming off that horrible incident last year, Jeremy Fears, of course, athletic guy. Shooting has to use some work, but, it's a new page in the long chapter book of Michigan State point guards. So we're excited all for this new chapter. As you work your way down to the front court, though, Tom Izzo, he wanted a big wing. That's what he said he wanted. He got Frankie Fiddler to play that 3. Xavier Booker, just like you said, statistically, not the greatest year last year for McDonald's All-American, but his usage is about to skyrocket this year. Okay, long ago are the days where he's going to get yanked for making the first freshman mistake. He's a sophomore. You don't get yanked for making sophomore mistakes under Tom Izzo. It's only freshmen that get that treatment. So hopefully he'll be on the court long enough. He will bloom like the flower he's supposed to be, and then center. I don't know.
It feels wide open, Matt. It feels wide open.
I was having fun with the first four positions we talked about, but the center position, I'm praying to be proven wrong here because, whoa, boy, you brought a lot of the same faces as last year. Yes, you said goodbye to Mati Sissoko, but guy got out of the transfer portal, a guy that came off the bench for Lawnwood, Simon Sapala. Okay. Okay, sure, Tom. I'll trust you, the Hall of Fame coach, I suppose, because I got no other options. So that's what we're looking at for the starting five. It's going to be fascinating with a capital F to start the season. I'm looking forward to it.
It really will be. And here's the thing. I joked about it off the cold open. After the season-ending loss last year, Coach Izzo talked about, I've got to get deeper into the tournament or die trying. And as part of that, he went on to say, this is a quote, I have to figure out how I do a better job. And I'm going to do a better job, but it's not going to be a complete overhaul. It's just going to be tweaking some things, So, Matt, my question to you is, as you've thought about this offseason, what are those tweaks?
That's a fantastic question. All I could really point to is just, yes, he did use the transfer portal, and he's never been a total stranger to it. He did get Joey Hauser out of there. Tyson Walker, you want to go back even before the portal was the portal. Aaron Harris, he got him out of the portal. So he was very definitive that he wanted to get a big wing, just like we said. He wanted to get bulkier. And I also think, too, is that he wants to see his team get to the line a little bit more. That's something Michigan State has not been good at the last few years. And Frankie Fiddler, great player by all accounts, 3-level scorer. He's just a nasty player. I really love Frankie Fiddler. But what he does extraordinarily well is get to the free throw line. Locked On Spartans fans have heard me belt out the stat many a time since he transferred here, but he got to the line 7 times per game over there at Omaha. Michigan State hasn't had a player go to the line more than 5 times per game since 2019 Cassius Winston. Look, we're losing 40 points off last year's team. Tyson Walker with 18, Malik Hall with 12, and AJ Hoggard 10. You got to get those 40 points somehow. If you get any of those free on the free throw line, I know I'm oversimplifying it. Not a bad way to do it, though, Isaac. So that's one way, is just getting bigger on the wing. You're also going to see that with Booker being your 4, most likely. So it's maybe we're going to get back to more physical basketball, especially on the perimeter. We'll see. I would love to see us go back to those days, and I think maybe that's kind of what he's alluding to.
Matt, something that kind of caught me off guard as we think about this personnel was AJ Hoggard transferring out. Sure. Did you expect that, or did it surprise you? Where were you at on that?
I was more surprised Steven Izzo didn't get drafted in the NBA than I was AJ Hoggard leaving. I know that a lot of the conversation outside of Michigan State was like, oh my God, he just lost his senior point guard. And of course, I don't expect everyone to be in the weeds of Michigan State basketball.
Sure.
Come on. But boy, those that have watched the AJ Hoggard tenure at Michigan State, yes, it wasn't a total dud. He did have great moments, but man, Izzo and Hoggard throughout the years never met eye to eye, and that's not to say that Izzo never, argues with his point guard or they don't get animated at each other.
We've seen it.
That's just what happens here at Michigan State. But man, Izzo tried so many different ways to, push his buttons, get on the same page, and by the time that final game against North Carolina ended, it was time to go for both parties. AJ Hoggard, if the rumor numbers are to be believed of what he got from Vanderbilt, awesome for him. Go get that bag in your final year. And also on Michigan State side, we've seen enough of the AJ Hoggard era. I'm speaking for, I think, the majority of the fan base. The minority of the fan base is very loud AJ Hoggard supporters. I want to just be clear there. It's not a total hater parade over here. But I think a lot of us are ready to get this new era started under Jeremy Fears. So, because that was an underwhelming tenure as far as, Michigan State point guards go.
It sounds what you just described. I think a lot of college basketball fans can relate it to what we saw last year with Caleb Love leaving North Carolina.
Sure. Yeah.
It seemed like the Tar Heels were in a lot better space and Caleb Love was in a lot better space at Arizona. Right. And hopefully that's true for this year, that, that AJ Hoggard can blossom and have a great year in Nashville, and that the Spartans are the better for it as well. But then, Matt, as you said, there's now the opportunity for Jeremy Fears to take over the lead guard duties. But the biggest question that we got to ask, you mentioned that unfortunate injury he suffered last year, that gunshot wound. Have you heard any updates on his status? Is he healthy? If he's not fully ready to go, where do we turn for that starting point guard?
The last we've heard about it is from Tom Izzo, and he will break every HIPAA violation when talking about injuries. Like, he's no stranger to just being as open of a book as humanly possible about every topic in the world. That does not stop at injuries. The last he talked was about a month or two ago, and he said, I believe it was he's 98% of the way back. He just gets a little sore in that leg when he's hit a lot. Which I'm not sure if I would put that on the record. Say, hey, everyone, when that guy's driving to the lane, make sure you get a little low on him and give him a nice Charlie horse. But It sounds like that he is good. He's had workout videos over the offseason that, well, boy, you would never expect that he suffered a gunshot wound to the leg. So I think he's going to be back. It just obviously sucks the incident itself, but, from a selfish basketball fan standpoint, sucks to not see him get that development, because as he was getting it deep into the non-conference, I was like, okay, we're starting to see him grow a little bit, and then season stops right there. And now it's almost starting from scratch for this upcoming season. Now as the starter. So we'll see how it goes. That's a big question mark. Yeah. No shortage of question marks here for Michigan State this year, Isaac. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, and the cool thing is we'll get a lot of them answered probably pretty quickly. We got Champions Classic and other things like that. For those who don't remember, in the 12 games that Fierce played last year, 15.3 minutes a game, 3.5 points a game, 3.3 assists against just 1.1 turnover. And so you love the distribution. You love that as a freshman, the way he was taking care of the ball early, scoring just enough. And so we're excited to see that. I'm so glad that the NCAA, who typically bungles everything, gave him a true medical red shirt despite having played 12 games. So good on you, NCAA. Way to go. That was
crazy. I was shocked. I thought whenever we'd be asked, like, oh, is he going to get the red shirt? I was like, I would absolutely not. He's not going to. It's NCAA, baby. Come on. And then, wow. Thank you.
Good grief. Good grief. Now, Matt, I remember one of our big conversations last year when you and I were talking about Michigan State was like, Xavier Booker just isn't ready. He's not fully who we thought he would be, like from a strength standpoint, just from, you talked about him getting yanked and all that. So I want to ask here coming up in just a minute about the feasibility of that. Really, maybe this year he does what we maybe thought he would do last year. And then we'll make some starting lineup predictions, talk about depth and all of that coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Roy. All right, Locked On College Basketball fans, it's time for our Roy Player of the Week, the app that lets you directly support your favorite athletes. Unlike collectives where you make a donation to a general fund, Roy lets you choose the specific athlete you want to support. You back the players you care about, and in return, you get exclusive content after the season, like personal videos and updates. Best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't create the content, you get your money back. This week, we are choosing Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel for his electric performance in helping the Ducks knock off their first ever top 2 AP team. He had 341 through the air, 32 on the ground, 3 total TDs. So we're contributing $100 to his campaign on Roy, and we want you to join us by making a payment as little as $10. When enough of us contribute, it's not just about the dollars, it's about the message sent to Dillon. Our collective support helps keep him connected to Oregon. Plus, Roy is doing their part to bring fans closer to their schools and athletes with an exciting giveaway. One lucky fan gets 2 tickets to any game of their choice coming up in November. You enter by downloading Roy in the app or Google Play Store. Use code LOCKEDON when you sign up, and you're entered. Already on Roy, make a payment to any athlete's campaign, and you'll be automatically entered. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for official rules. Download Roy and try it out. There's no subscription, no recurring fees, and for as little as $10, you can get into the NIL game. Roy, support the players, change the game. Isaac Shade with you and Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans coming at you. We're talking our Michigan State season preview here. Make sure, by the way, if you're not locked in to Locked On Spartans, man, you need to go check it out. Where, again, Matt does a phenomenal job covering all things Sparty. And, brother, so thankful for you and our partnership here on this great network.
Absolutely.
So let's get back to this Xavier Booker conversation because – look, last year we had, I think, very high hopes for him. I know I personally did. I feel like you did. And if memory serves, it became clear pretty quickly into last season that it just wasn't going to be it, at least in the beginning part of the season for Xavier Booker. Matt, is he ready for year 2?
Yeah, he's going to have to be too. Like a lot of the offense is going to have to run through him this year. Right now, Bart Torvik, if you roll over there, they're projecting his numbers to be 14.3 points per game, 6.7 rebounds. That sounds about right where he has to be. And I think he can do it. Look, to start last year, he wasn't ready. You're right. I mean, I even said as much too. It's like it's going to be a slow burn to see true Xavier Booker, but I thought by the time the conference season rolled around, we would see more of him because, well, we actually did see that growth, but it was still a pretty short leash on Xavier Booker. Now, what we saw at the end of the season, well, that three-point ball was a little more refined. I know he ended the season at 33%, but that last month and a half, he was shooting it solid, high 30% if memory serves correctly. But also, you know what? In his first start against Ohio State, 3 blocks. It wasn't perfect. He was getting lost in space on defense a little bit. And, of course, Izzo needs you to play defense. And especially, well, if you're the freshman, your leash is only about that long. It's not long at all. And we saw that in spades last year, which just Isaac made the fan base so happy with Tom Izzo last year. Everyone was in full agreement with him. And it's just, but no, like it's whether it's just because he's not a freshman anymore and we got longer leashes for other guys or just point blank. Yeah, a lot of this is going to have to go through Booker. We will see more of him. I don't think it'll be a consistent 14-6 a night. But, yeah, he's going to show moments of greatness. I got no question about that.
Okay, so we'll watch for a sophomore breakout there from Brother Booker.
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
So Michigan State brings back 8 players: Jackson Kohler, Jeremy Fears, Jaden Akins, Trey Holloman, Garrick Norman, who redshirted last year. So he didn't play, but he was on the roster. Carson Cooper, Xavier Booker, and Cohen Carr. The portal additions we've already mentioned, Frankie Fiddler coming over from Omaha. I'm with you, Matt. I'm very, very excited to see what he can do in the Big Ten. Yeah. Simon Zapala coming over, played at Longwood last year, was at Utah State before that. And then we get 3 freshmen, the most heralded of which is Jace Richardson. And that name should sound very familiar to you per 247 Sports. He's 37th in the class of 6'3" combo guard. And you also get Kurt Tang, a 6'4" shooting guard, and Jesse McCullough, a 6'9" power forward. Matt, what do you feel about getting another Richardson here into this program?
Great as a fan right now in the year of our Lord 2024. He is an awesome player. And you know what? Like Tom Izzo has lauded him for his defense. And you even saw that in 3 of the scrimmages they had over in spring. Like he is college basketball defense ready. But man, just as like a human being that's trying to not age at a rapid pace. Like I remember watching Jason Richardson play in a state uniform. Granted, I was in elementary school, but like, what? Huh? Like his kid's on the team now. So I'm just going to try to focus on the positives of like, great, we got a top 40 kid in Jace Richardson. And yeah, I think he's going to be a fascinating combo guard option for Michigan State. It's a solid class. And even Kurt Tang, spot up shooter. He's going to take the spot that Josh Langford left a few years ago of just great 16-foot spot up shooter. There's no one in the country that loves lawn twos more than Michigan State. In the world of analytics where they say it's either a layup or a 3-pointer, we zig across that zag.
I think Kurt Steve Kerr just threw up in his mouth somewhere. Yeah.
I'm sure he did. Yes. So, but no, Kurt Tang was made for this program. Just pin downs and elbow jumpers, baby.
I love it. Bring it on. We've already mentioned the key subtractions, but I'll say it again. Tyson Walker, Malik Hall, AJ Hogarth off to Vandy, and Madi Sissoko off to Cal, and the ACC conference, as we're all still getting used to.
Yes.
Sheehan, let's make predictions for the starting 5. You rattled through it a little bit earlier, but let's be definitive about this. As a reminder, multiple players started, but the only returning, I'll just say season-long starter from last year is Jaden Akins. And so my question is, assuming we both think he's still going to start, who are the 4 that are going to join him this year?
At the 1, I got Jeremy Fears. I think it's been abundantly clear, and maybe that's why there's a separation with Hogarth too. Next chapter time. And then at the 2, Jaden Akins, which makes it interesting because, well, Trey Holloman, he's going to be a junior. He was really solid last year, got his 3-point shooting up to 43%, which, if you watch his stroke as a freshman, I didn't even think he'd get to 33% ever. It's long, but it worked last year anyway. I'll stop rambling here. Frankie Fiddler at the 3, the big wing. He didn't come here to sit the bench to start the season. At the power forward, Xavier Booker, and then center, Isaac, if you just want to close your eyes and grab a name out of the hat between Carson Cooper, Jackson Kohler, and Simon Zapala, that is going to be a by every game. It might be a different guy. I could see these guys all starting 10 games apiece this season. That's just how it goes at the center position. But you know what? Fine. Game 1, Carson Cooper. Just give me that for not?
Matt, here's what's so funny, Matt, is that my starting 5 is the exact same, and my thought process was the exact same.
Look at us.
Fears, assuming health, was the no-duh starter at the point for me. Jaden Akins, yes, you need that continuity, but as you talked about early in the show, I like him sliding down to his more natural shooting guard position, which then allows Frankie Fiddler to come in and do what Tom Izzo brought him in to do. I think he is going to be such a critical piece for this team. I do think Xavier Booker is at that starting 4. He started 2 of the final 8 games. And then my biggest, I started off, I was like, I think Zapala is going to be the starting 5. And then I was like, no, that's not going to happen. And then I ultimately landed on Carson Cooper, same as you said, who, by the way, started 8 games last year, including both Big Ten games and both NCAA tournament games coming in from Adi Sissoko. And so to me, that's a little bit just of a clue and a hint of probably where Tom Izzo is with that, assuming nothing wacky happens this offseason, which it doesn't sound like there has been. So for me, that gives Cooper, at least at the beginning stages of the year, the starting nod at the 5. Anything else to say on that, Matt? And then I want to move to the depth beyond those guys.
No, I could talk about the center position for another half hour, but I don't want to. I don't want to have a crisis on screen right now. So,
well, let me ask you this then: as we get to the depth, let's stay in the front court because the other 2 names, as you mentioned, are Jackson Kohler and Simon Zapala. Of those 2, right now, today in early October, who is your, if you were putting money on the line, who would you bet to come off the bench to spell Cooper first between Zapala and Kohler?
I would say Zapala just because maybe this year we start to see Kohler as maybe a little bit of a 4. They kind of teased that last year. Yeah, because, they talked about that last year. He had a great summer, great fall, and all of a sudden he had this foot injury that sent him back a few months to start the season. And then, you're starting from square one, not against, the small schools of the world, but Big Ten play immediately. So tough start to the season for him. People want to use that as okay, well, no pun intended, the crutch for as to maybe why he didn't produce a lot last season. But I don't know. We're going to have to see it. They were teasing, okay, he's going to be a 3-point threat. If that happens, then okay, maybe he truly is that 4. So that's why I'm going to go with Zapala. Maybe is going to spell him at the 5.
And then in the backcourt, you've already mentioned Trey Holloman will clearly get a bunch of minutes in the backcourt. And then Jace Richardson, I think, is going to play and need to play some good key minutes. And then on the wing, obviously, we've got Cohen Carr as well. And as you look at these guys, I mean, if Coach Izzo needed to, which I don't expect he will, but you've essentially got a full second unit there between Holloman, Richardson, Carr, Kohler, and Zapala. You need somebody that's more of a true point to take care of things there. But that's a 5 that is viable on the court after that starting 5, and that's got to be a comfort.
They are a little deep, no question about it. Even Trey Holloman, he could play the 1 or the 2. Jace Richardson, while that'd be asking a lot from a true freshman, he can play the 1, probably more as a 2 right now. Well, I think it's interesting too, though, and we saw a little bit of this on the Spain trip. And Tom Izzo must be a listener of Locked On Spartans because we were talking about this. Cohen Carr's probably a 4, I think. I think he's going to be more of the power forward. I know that. You know what? Height-wise, not necessarily traditional. I think he's 6'6".
In this day and age, yes.
Of course, you're right. But I don't think the jumper is necessarily anywhere close to being there, if I could be frank about it. Yeah. For him to play the wing, and he is just such an athletic freak, muddy up the boards, clean up around the rim, slash the rim. Be a bully down there. I think that we're going to see more of him being a 4. Now, how often we see that to start the season, I'm not sure. But I think by the time, March rolls around, I think that's pretty much where he's going to find his home is spelling Booker as the 4. Very 2 different 4s.
Which is good. That's a problem for opposition.
Different flavors. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I can taste it. Some vanilla, some chocolate, some
like that? That's right.
Okay. And then obviously we'll watch to see, can Garrick Norman get some time? Will Kurt Tang, Jesse McCullough, the other 2 freshmen, what kind of minutes will they get? We'll watch out for that, of course. Now, Matt, the next question we need to answer is, will Michigan State make a deeper run in the NCAA tournament this year, or will we regretfully have to start writing Tom Izzo's obituary because he said he's going to die trying, and I hope we don't have to do that. So we'll look at the schedule, and we'll make some projections on wins and losses, Big Ten finish, and the NCAA tournament run, all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. We're talking Michigan State today. How about some Big Ten regular season champion odds? Purdue leads the way at plus 360, followed by Indiana at plus 650, and then Sparty plus 700. Next comes UCLA and Ohio State, both at 850, Michigan 1100, Illinois 1200, and Oregon plus 1300. So if you want to get in on that action or anything else going on, go ahead and go check it out at FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Let's turn our attention now, Mr. Matt Sheehan, to Michigan State's schedule for this upcoming season. Folks, as a reminder, Big Ten has 20 conference games, 2 of which are in the midst of non-con play in early December there. Michigan State will play 2 exhibitions this, just as you listen to this a couple days ago at Northern Michigan. I love that being a road contest,
yes.
Oh, by the way. And then on Tuesday, October 29th versus Ferris State. As you look through it, a bunch of bye games as you typically have. I mean, you've got like a Samford, though, who isn't your traditional bye game. Samford is a great program down there. Man, that's tough. They gave Kansas everything they could ask for in the NCAA tournament last year. Of course, you got Champions Classic. That's the big one early Tuesday, November 12th, playing Kansas. Oh, by the way, this year, that one's down in Atlanta. And then the other big whammy is the Maui Invitational. That's Monday through Wednesday of Thanksgiving week. Actually back at the Lahaina Civic Center this year, thank goodness, after the fires. Actually, Matt had a chance a couple months ago to go by and see it. It looks great. They're ready. It's going to be awesome.
Amazing. Let's go.
Yes. Man, and it's just such a little tiny building right beside the fire department. It's crazy. It's so
wild. Yeah. Oh, anyway, I've been there. I actually got some shots up during my honeymoon at the Lahaina Civic Center. Yeah, just because I'm such a Maui Classic purist. That's amazing. Let's go, Isaac. Feeling ourselves today.
So Michigan State will start with Colorado, who won't be as good as they were last year. A bunch of talent. And then either UConn or Memphis after that. And then on the other side of the bracket, game 3 will either be North Carolina, Iowa State, Auburn. Any of those 3 games are ridiculously tough. And then Dayton, who was a great mid-major program in the A-10 there. And then the final 3 games of non-con, Oakland, FAU, and Western Michigan. So, look, Matt, yes, there are a couple more traditional bye games that should be pretty easy. But then you got Kansas, and then you got Maui, and then you got, like, these tougher mid-major, like Samford and FAU, even though I know Dusty May is off to Michigan,
right?
Which you're probably very aware of, all you Michigan State faithful.
Sure.
But this is a good non-conference schedule, Matt.
It is, yeah. And like people were like, "Oh, well, that's a little softer than Tom Izzo usually likes it." But is it? Because again, I think it's just Maui Invitationals there. People don't actually know the games, but yeah, UConn or Memphis guaranteed round 2, and the first 3 games that could be your first, UNC, Iowa State, Auburn. No, that's going to be a gauntlet. When we look in the review mirror at the end of November, we're going to be saying to ourselves, "Oh, there goes Tom again," just the masochist schedule over there. So, No, it is a solid non-conference schedule, Isaac. You're bang on.
And Kansas, let's not forget, is either going to be preseason number 1 or 2. It'll be them and Alabama in some order. So, I mean, it is what it is. Okay. And then we look at the Big Ten slate, obviously welcoming in the new 4 schools from the West Coast, both LA area schools, Oregon and Washington. And, it's nice. There is that, and every Big Ten school either takes an LA trip or a Pacific Northwest trip. For Sparty, it's going to be an LA trip. That'll come in early February, February 1st and 4th. So we'll watch out for that. But Matt, as you look at this, what is your projection for where Michigan State ultimately finishes in the Big Ten? And then give me your take on the preseason, on the regular season record.
Bart Torvik, last I checked, actually, every Big Ten team is projected to finish between 12-8 and 8-12. This is going to be a bloodbath every single night. It is crazy. Usually you have 1 or 2 basement dwellers that you can guarantee is a win. No. Not anymore. It's going to be crazy. So I don't think it's going to be too far.
Yeah, Minnesota, actually, they're terrible. So
yeah, they are pretty bad. But I got some bad memories playing Minnesota last year. The fact that we open up there, I can't tell if I'd like that or not, just because the bad voodoo in that building. Regardless, I'm going to go with 11-9, and I know it's not the flashiest or sexiest record of all time that you've ever heard, but look, over 500 in this year's Big Ten. While it's going to be nasty, it gets the job done. And there's so many question marks about Michigan State. Will Fears be healthy? Can Akins slide over to the 2 properly? Is Fiddler ready for Big Ten play? Have the centers taken a step forward? I'm leaving 10 off, but there's so many question marks where you need a lot of them to go your way to be competitive in the Big Ten title chase.
That's a good point.
I just don't know if you're going to have that many question marks go your way just at a math standpoint. So
that is a brilliant point, Matt, because so often we look at it and it's hey, we feel really solid with these 3 or 4 things that are cemented and we know it from years past.
We don't
And
have
we
them.
need
Right.
this one thing to hit or these 2 things to hit. But when
Yeah.
you got 5 question marks, man, that's a different ball game, and they all got to hit. So I love you putting it that way. For my Big Ten record, I went slightly better than you. I was at 13-7.
I like that.
I went 8-3 in non-con play for a total of 21-10 in the regular season. And, I think I might be slightly optimistic on that, but hey, we'll go with that, and that'll be nice. But something I think you're also spot on, Matt, is that, the Big Ten, while we might have a couple basement dwellers, I think the very tip-top end is pretty wide open. But then I think you're right. Like 3 through 14 is like, I could look like, was it 2 years ago when Northwestern was like, they ended up as the 2 seed, but if they had lost on the last day, they would have been like the 8 or 9. It feels like it could be that all over again is what we're looking at. So
100%. Every team's gonna be 10-10 at the end of the year, and they're gonna have to go to the coin flip tiebreaker for Big Ten tournament seeding. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be a movie.
Okay, so Matt, last prediction here. We got to get Tom Izzo past the round of 32 so that he doesn't die trying to get further. Is it going to happen? Yes or no?
No, maybe. Man, because I don't want Tom Izzo to die. I love that guy. Even though he's just been killing me the last few years, he's brought me more happiness than anyone in my life has. That's.
And you got kids.
Oh my God, 2 amazing kids. Yeah, I got a beautiful wife, and my parents are outstanding. My whole family is great. I got wonderful friends, but that's Tom Izzo we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't brought me 8 Final Four banners. I'm sorry. That means something to me. No, just because I think they get a 7 seed again, Isaac, and
that's right about what I put it. I waffled between a 6 and a 7 seed. I ultimately landed on 6, which lines up with my projection being slightly above yours. And I said Sweet 16. I'm doing
Thank
it.
you. I like that.
On
it.
Don't kill Tom Izzo. Yeah. We're keeping this dude around at least for another 365 days. It's gonna be great.
No, and I'm sorry for my answer because I did read it. I saw we got to have the tournament prediction, and I'm the whole day I've been wrestling. I don't know if I could say it out loud, but I think again, just the 5th year where we're doing this, where we're just hey, let's see if we can get a 7 seed this year. It's better than the 8-9 game, and. But
we will see how that all comes out, folks. Can all these question marks be answered? What's it all going to look like? We are less than a month away, and it's going to be glorious. Even on the days when it's not glorious, it's still going to be glorious. Friends, again, if you haven't checked out Locked On Spartans, please make sure you go do that again. Matt does such a bang-up job with that show, keeping you up to date on everything you need to know. Matt, also, Spartans Wire, right?
Spartans Illustrated over the Rivals Network. Close enough, though. That's okay. We'll edit that in post. That's fine.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Say okay. Yep.
Please make sure you go check out all of Matt's great work there as well. Subscribe to his show. If you haven't subscribed to Locked On College Basketball, make sure to do that on audio and video as well. If you haven't joined the Locked On College Basketball Discord, where we're chatting college basketball every day, man, come on in. It's free to join. Link for that is in the show notes. All right, as always, I got to say apologies to the lawyer family. Let's go Wildcats, and until tomorrow, peace.